All right. Welcome to
Welcome to the Writer's Edge.
I'm your host, Christie Stratos.
I'm your new co-host, Mickey Mikkelson. First time ever, and I'm pumped.
We're really excited about Mickey. So tonight we're going to be talking about beach reads, summer fiction, and what readers are looking for, and a lot more.
And stick around until the very end. We're going to have another great interview. Same time, same place, July 26th.
If you're not already subscribed to the Writer's Edge, please subscribe, hit like as well, and hit the notification bell.
Awesome. So happy to be here. Summer reads is our theme. I brought my umbrella my daughter gave me, just getting in tune for this. I've been listening to Beach Boys and Beatles all day. I am stoked. And we have an all-star cast as well. Introductions as we go forward. So we have Jenna Greene, Canadian author from Lethbridge, Alberta, teacher by day, mom and author at night. Jenna is the author of young adult fantasy series with 2 books out titled Imagine a Reality. Third book, Heritage, will be out later this year. Secondly, also from Canada, Calgary actually, my home ground, we have Joy Nordstrom. She has had huge success with her debut novel, Out of Play. It's a woman's fiction novel, long on humor, short on romance, pretty perfect for our summer reads program today. Thirdly, we also have Alicia Smock, host of Rollout Reviews. In my opinion, one of the top independent book reviewers in the United States. She reviews books of every genre. She conducts interviews. She has an English degree, so she does editing as well. And important to note, her reviews are not only posted on her website, they're also posted on Medium. On a side note, we were supposed to have Josie McCabe, senior editor of Readers Entertainment, as well tonight. She unfortunately had a conflict, so she couldn't be here. So we, in turn, brought the hosts of Spilling Ink, another great YouTube show, on for tonight. Jason LaVelle, he's a horror suspense author. His newest book, Screaming for, I forgot the last title. Jason, you'll tell us what it is. And we also have Katie Salidas. She's a USA Today bestselling author of romance. She's won the prestigious Rona Award for her novel Chronicles of the Uprising. She has a new book coming out this Tuesday, which is book 2 of her Agents of Asset series, titled Taste of Magic. And yeah, we'll go ahead.
All right, great. Thanks so much, Mickey. And I am Christie Stratos. As you guys know, I am the author of the Dark Victoriana collection, and that includes Anatomy of a Darkened Heart and Lock and Key. I'll have news about that title soon. I am also on Wattpad, so you can check me out there if you're looking for short stories that are 1,000 words or less. So let's just jump right into this. I want to ask you guys, what does summer reading mean to you? And I want to know, does it come across to you as like any kind of specific genre, a feel, a theme? I've seen a lot of stuff out there, so I'd love to hear from each of you on that.
Ooh, I see a lot of muted microphones on there, and only me not muted. So I guess I'll go first. Well, you know, summer reads, I don't know, I think they mean something different to everybody. And like I was just on a week-long camping trip. I took all my kids camping, and I've got 4 teenagers, so it can be a little much, but I had so much fun. And 3 of them were sitting on the beach in their beach chairs reading. And they were reading Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card, Vicious by Victoria Schwab, and a murder mystery book by another Canadian author, Kelly. Oh gosh, what's her last name? Kelly Sharon, I think. And so it's kind of, they didn't have one specific genre. And I guess when I sit down to read at the beach, you know, I want something that's just going to be fun. You know, it's going to be really engaging, and it's going to keep my interest the whole time. It doesn't necessarily have to be light. It doesn't have to be fluffy or romance. It has to be something that's going to keep my interest, though, for sure. I just finished up the Darker Shade of Magic series, and that was fantastic. And I could read it all summer long, and I would love to. So I don't have a specific genre that I go to for my summer reading, just as long as it keeps me engaged, because otherwise there's so much good stuff to do out here that if your book isn't keeping you entertained, you're going to go do something else.
I agree with that. It's not a specific genre. It's you have more time, I think, to read. So you get to indulge in those books that you absolutely love, whatever your particular genre is.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. What do you guys think? Jenna, what do you think?
Oh, I have to agree with what Katie was saying, that you have more time in the summer to read. My to-read pile stacks up during this. I'm a teacher, so of course that's part of it, but it stacks up during the year. And then, there's 20 books by my bedside that I'm like, I finally have time to read. And people aren't just reading on the beach, it's camping, it's traveling. The only thing I noticed when I looked online at certain novels that were listed as summer reads or beach reads is that there seemed to be a little bit more female characters than male characters. So it's great if you write women's fiction. I think maybe the books that have the male characters might have to do a little bit more promoting to make sure that they're included in those summer reads categories, because they're just as valid. And Ender's Game is a great summer read.
Well, and it's funny. James Patterson, who did one of those online master course DLEs, writing courses, and actually I went through the course and watched the course. It was a lot of fun to watch, and his advice to writers is to always write for women, because women have such a big part of the reader market out there, and I love that, and I don't know if it's something strange about me, but I love reading books that have our main character is female. And in fact, whenever I write anything, my main character is always female. I think they're really enjoyable, and they make for really dynamic characters. And so I don't know, I see books with female characters, and to me it doesn't matter the season. It just, I guess I always kind of lean towards those anyway. But yeah, I think that you're right, especially when you look at Amazon's lists. There do seem to be a lot of women's fiction authors up there.
Joy and Alicia, what do you guys think?
No. Well, I actually agree with everyone else too. I know for me personally, summer reads equal just almost rereading favorite books, just because you have the time, and if you enjoy a book or a book series, then I think summer is a great way to just reread those again. I know just this summer that I've reread my favorite fantasy series all over again. It's the Witcher series by Andrzej Sapkowski. It's a Polish writer. So yeah, I just take the time to do that. And then I think that other people would do it too. Just take your favorite books on your vacations or wherever you go during that time.
Have you guys read Six of Crows? Any of you?
It's on my list. I haven't read it yet, though.
Not yet.
Oh,
Not yet.
I just finished it. I've got a coworker who is also a book nerd like me, and she's dumping tons and tons of books on me, and I'm just like, okay, I like your taste in books, so I'll try them out. But holy crap, was it good! And I went into it thinking it was going to be like this kids or young adult book, and it's really not. I mean, it's good. It's good and vicious. I loved it. But
the young adult genre has gotten older, much older than what we originally thought of it as young adult. It's not the lighthearted teenage drama. It's definitely darker now.
I love this adult fantasy stuff because it really indulges the fantasy nerd in me, but it lets me be a grown-up at the same time. So, man, yeah, it's good. So definitely, if that's not on your summer reading list, Six of Crows, it kicks ass. It is a very good book.
That's fantastic. I don't know if we have Joy frozen or not. I just want to make sure that she gets the chance to talk if she is still around. So feel free to jump in, Joy, when you get the chance. Interrupt me just to make sure that you are able to talk. Since we were talking about women's fiction and things like that, I had actually, when I was looking up this topic, it was weird because when I went on to the summer reads section of Amazon, I saw there's two sections, by the way. There's summer reads, and then there's summer fiction and beach reads. And then there's really like everything, anything you can think of, just everything is there. And there isn't too much of a theme. And yet when I was looking at other people's blogs and places like that, I had seen that mostly it was, we relate chick lit, to this time of year. We relate romance, anything, women's fiction in general. And yet this is not what Amazon is actually suggesting, which I think is kind of funny. So I was wondering if you guys think, is Amazon just putting up popular fiction and just calling it summer fiction? Or do you think that Amazon is actually trying to diversify what would normally be considered a beach read. Am I being too generous with Amazon there?
Actually, Amazon's extremely savvy about what sells. And I think what they're doing is correct, because just because it's a summertime appeal doesn't mean it has to be books related to summer or books related to lighter plots or chick lit. People like to read, and if they have more time to read in the summer, offer them what they want, those books that they are going to read. So the more popular books are probably going to sell better during this time, simply because there's more time for it, and Amazon is marketing them appropriately. I think a lot of marketers want to thematically categorize everything, and it doesn't always work unless you're looking for that specific thing.
I agree, although when you search on Amazon, I think it does give you an edge if you're using that as a keyword, or your cover really shows that kind of summer feel. Those definitely come up on my searches too when I put in beach reads. There's a lot of toes, there's a lot of sand.
Yeah, absolutely. What do the rest of you think?
No, I agree with Joy wholeheartedly, because I know I looked at it like right before this call and or before this interview, and I saw the same thing that Joy saw, where it's like there were the beach themed covers, the beach themed books, but then there were also a lot of just other books, like popular books, or gosh, I even saw one that took place in winter, so it's all over the map.
How much of that, though, has to do with, let's say, the author or the publisher putting summer beach read in as their category? And if that's what you're typing in, that's what's going to come up.
Which is kind of sneaky, and I'm not sure how I feel about that when you've got, Alicia, I saw the same thing with winter stuff.
Right?
And I was sort of like, what is happening here? That's weird. One of the biggest pieces of advice that so many big published authors will say is release things seasonally, release them at the right time seasonally. So this is like exactly the opposite of the advice that I have always heard. What do you think, Jenna?
There was a few covers on that read like industry left.
All right, I think we lost Jenna for the moment, but I'm sure she'll come back to us. It's a little bit, I think it's the internet. I think it's just an internet issue.
Hey, Christy, what was your question again? I kind of had my own little internet hiccup there.
Summer internet issues. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, no, I was saying basically that if you go onto Amazon into the summer reads, whether you go into summer fiction or beach reads, there is not as much of a theme as you would think. I was saying that on some blogs I've seen, or actually most blogs, they say, oh, if you're going to put out a book during the summer, it should be, you know, most people are looking for chick lit or romance, something like that. And like we were, you know, you were saying before, sometimes it can be related to that. And yet Amazon's picks seem to be very different. They seem to be just all over the map. So I was asking if Amazon is doing that on purpose or not, basically.
Yeah, you know, the Zon kind of has its claws in everything, and they certainly know their stuff, you know. But yeah, I don't know. You know, my publisher does not like to release things in the summer. They like to release things in the fall. And that's just part of their marketing strategy. I think that their thinking is that not as many people are buying books in the summer because you're maybe spending more time outdoors, or there are more activities to do. And you know, whether that's right or wrong is not for me to say, since I'm definitely not a marketing expert. But I do know that their sales data always seems to pick up in the fall and carry on through the winter, and then starts to wane in the spring and summer. So as far as I go, I know that Go Indie Now had just sent us a message asking if any of us schedule our releases based on the season. And I know I certainly don't. You know, for the most part, I have to go with what my publisher wants. And then this coming winter, probably January, February, I'll put out a book of short stories. But yeah, I've never really given much thought to the seasonal aspect of publishing, and that's a good question. You know, have any of you had experience with that? You know, releasing, you know, at fall there versus spring versus summer, and gotten a certain result?
Mine have all been released in the fall, and I always thought it was that lead into Christmas.
The majority of my authors and actually talking with big five publishers, the two biggest release months are typically April and September. So the reason you're seeing a lot of books with the winter theme in the summertime is they want to capture two different timelines. They want to capture the big boost when they release their initial book in April, but then they want to capture it again going into the winter and Christmas season. So it's a double layered platform in terms of sales and marketing aspects.
There's another issue too. The indies typically say September is their worst month, and that makes sense if Big Five is publishing all of their books around September, that the indie publishers either need to wait till the next month so that the tide is lower, so to speak, or they're going to be struggling against all of these big, popular authors for readers' dollars.
Yep, that's exactly right, Katie. So I tell my clients, don't release their books in September. Release them in August, release them in October, November. Because September, you're not going to get anything in terms of traction, even from a media level, because the big five are all concentrating on those big titles, right?
Absolutely. But you do still want to capture that before Christmas market, because that is when people are usually spending their money to, purchase gifts for other people. And a lot of people use that towards marketing, hey, this is a great thing to give away for Christmas. If they're getting a new Kindle, get them a new ebook to go with it. That kind of thing. And both indies and Big Five alike do a lot of marketing push in that late fall, early winter timeframe.
Totally agree.
I think that's particularly good advice because, like you said, most people would think if that's when the Big Five are doing it, that must be what I should do, because usually we try to take notes from them basically to see what's a good idea. So I think it's really good to point out that in this case, it's actually kind of the opposite. You kind of don't want to do that.
Well, and that's been the fight that I think indies have had for a long time. And I shouldn't say fight because it's not really a fight, but struggling to stay afloat when there are thousands of books being published daily. You've got to be a little bit more savvy about when you release your stuff too, so that you're not in a direct competition with somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And Jason actually mentioned already that we had a question from GoND Now, so I'm going to throw it out there now. He says, do any of you plan your release schedule ahead to make sure a new book is out in time for summer specifically? And I think Jason already answered, but if anybody else, does anybody else plan specifically for summer?
Nope. I usually have books out before summer starts, so it's already on the list, and then again in late fall too.
Yeah, but you're a writing machine, Katie. You're putting books out all the time, all year.
I've actually slowed down. I used to do 3 to 4 a year. Now I'm settling on 2 because I want to take a little bit more time, and I want to make sure that, obviously the books are perfect, but that I can do the pre-marketing that's required.
Well, what does it take you to write a book now? 18 hours, Katie?
Oh, shut up.
You're like the Patterson of indies.
And the writing part's actually the easy part. We've talked about this many times. The writing part's the easy part. It's the fun. It's the creative part. It's the rest of it that's the work. It's the revisions. It's the editing. It's going through the beta notes and all of that. All of the work that's the grunt work before you can actually prep the book for publishing. That's the hard stuff. The writing's the fun part.
And it's funny that you said that because my editor, Jessica, and she's an author as well. She just released her first novel, and I am co-authoring a project with her right now, but she feels the opposite. The writing is the hardest part for her, and it's all of the horrible stuff afterwards that she loves. And I'm like, oh my God, that's like the worst part there is. I mean, I hate that part. But she absolutely loves it, and I think it's just a different kind of brainwave that must be going on there. That some people love the editing, some people love the writing.
Well, that's when you're agonizing over every single sentence. When you're just doing the creative part and you're just letting the story come out, not having to focus so hard. Did I pick the right word here? Did they do the right thing there? You let that story flow freely. You can enjoy it, like when you sit back and watch TV. Yeah. When you're doing the editing and the revising, and just every little word has to be perfect and every sentence has to be perfect. And am I varying my sentence structure enough? And am I using the right words? Am I using too many crutch words? And then it becomes just stressful. It's a struggle.
Am I using too many modal auxiliary verbs and all this other crap that you've got to think about? But, as an example, I can sit down on a good writing day and sit for a couple hours and hammer out a chapter, no problem. You know, put down 1,500 to 3,000 words, no problem. But it will take me 3 days to edit that same chapter because I don't want to do it. I don't want to look at those stupid words anymore. But yeah.
Joy,
What
I know. Sorry. Joy, I know that you specifically write women's fiction. Do you look to publish in the summer at all, or do you just do any particular time of year other than summer?
Hi. Sorry, I'm cutting in and out a lot, but I am a working writer, so I have a day job and kids. So I am just thrilled and happy to finish my next project and have not been focused too much on seasons, but a lot of my writing colleagues that I've met along the way, they definitely do look at that seasonal thing. You can see it in that kind of rom-com line where they will maybe try, and especially if they're indie, I'll see that they'll try and do that novella coming out at Christmas time with their characters. So if you enjoyed something with that same characters or that same setting, they might push for like a novella at Christmas, and then they will again try a seasonal one. You definitely see that pattern. I'm just not quite there with my writing.
No, I think that's really great advice, because I mean, if you think about it, if people really like particular characters, what better gift could there be for, you know, for that person than to actually give them those characters again, and whether it's novella or novel form. I think that's great advice.
Yeah, and I think kind of when people talk about that kind of summer read, they are looking to just kind of ease quickly into the story. You don't have to think about it, but you're immersed very quickly. So if you already know those characters, I think that certainly can help.
Yeah, and we have Joe from Go Indie Now on the side in the chat saying that it makes a lot of sense to publish during the summer because that's when Comic-Cons and book festivals really start to pop up. So you have a new release that's like a great marketing tool. It's just in time. So that does make sense. I have never published in summer. I did the opposite myself. My books are on the darker side, and so I always assumed they should come out in the darker months. So I would put them out more in October and November. But it's kind of interesting to think, now that I'm looking at Amazon and we're all talking about this, what if I did release in summer? Maybe it would actually be a good idea, since everything is so diversified now. I don't know. It's something that I'm gonna think about now. It's pretty exciting.
I don't know. I've never been that organized. And before I signed up with this publisher, it was always, as soon as I could get all the crap done and all the formatting and everything, it was like, boom, that baby's going. That baby's getting published. There was zero thought that went into it. But now, as I get older and hopefully wiser, you know, there's a lot more that has to go into a book launch to hopefully generate a little bit of interest behind it. But you know, that's another thing I wanted to ask you guys, since we have so many people on the show tonight and we have a publicist on the show tonight. How much value is there really in all the teasers and all the promo material you put out before a book launch? I happen to know that, only because I followed it closely, there is a big box set that came out earlier this year called Dominion Rising, and it had like 22 novels in it. It was dirt cheap, and they had a very strict marketing plan that they followed because they wanted this to chart on New York Times, and it did. But it seemed like every other day I was seeing a new ad for it, a new teaser for it, for months before it actually released. But do you guys have any experience with that with your own books? You know, whether you just, boom, drop it onto the market, or whether you let it build up for several months, you know, teasing your readers about it, or what's your experience?
I'm starting to get better. I never used to do the lead up and the thing, but Mickey has taught me otherwise. But think about movies and movie posters, and you see that movie poster 5 times, 10 times, 1,000 times, and the build up. And then starting doing book signings, people have taught me that a customer needs to see your book maybe 2, 3, 4 times before they stop and buy. And it's that very visual presence. And the more they see it, the more likely they are to buy it. So I'm trying to work harder at that it's hard because I work with publishers, and so, you know, they get to decide when it's released, and they handle a lot of the promo, but cover reveals and things like that are starting to really become a big deal, and I'm starting to learn a lot more from it.
Yeah, it's that slow buildup of excitement. You have to do it now. It's no longer viable to drop a book and say, it's released, here, go get it. There's so much competition. You have to find a way to stand out. And sometimes that trickle down marketing where you're slowly giving a sneak peek or a cover reveal or doing a blog post or something. And it's constantly sticking in people's minds. They're seeing the book cover over and over. By the time that book is released, it should have done its work and they'll be excited to jump in and grab it.
I have to say that I have a kind of tricky situation with my books, and that is that when you read them, everything builds on the thing before it. And so taken out of context, a lot of quotes and things like that don't make any sense, or they just don't seem as exciting as they are in context at all. They just don't mean the same thing. And so doing any kind of like quote graphics is extremely difficult for me, especially without giving anything away. So I was wondering if you guys have any idea of like what, I don't have the book cover, you know, that far in advance. I'm going to have it like maybe a couple months in advance, but not that far. And I can't put these quotes out. So those two things that are a little bit difficult for me. I don't know. Do you think that just blogging about it, like the process and how it's going and stuff is good enough? Do you think that putting out visuals that sort of represent it is also good enough?
Well, do you know Kendra Souter by chance, Christy?
I don't think so.
Okay. Kendra writes kind of dystopian fiction novels, and she's very prolific. And what Kendra does is even before she has a cover, I will be seeing teasers from her, and they're always really cool images. And then it'll have a little one-liner about the book that she's gonna put up. But what she does is she goes and she finds stock images of, you know, a girl that looks fierce doing this that she thinks would kind of fit the theme, and she uses those and does a little bit of editing to make her teasers and promos. But what I've been doing with my releases that are coming up this fall is every month in my newsletter and on occasion on Facebook, I'll mention how the writing's going or that I'm excited that it's coming out, and I do have the cover for it, so I can put that cover up. But I would say browse around on the stock images, man. There's some amazing photography out there that you can find just about anything to suit your needs. You know, whether it's, you know, super sunny and fluffy or dark and dangerous, you'll be able to find something. And then just add a couple words to it, even if it's not a quote, but, you know, the dangerous world of Christie Stratos. I don't know. But, you know, I mean, you can find stuff to put up pretty easily on there. And if you go with somebody like Deposit Photos, they're cheap, especially if you have a friend like Katie who buys the Deposit Photo package every year, and then you just ask her to give you stuff. That's kind of my marketing plan.
You know, speaking of what you were just saying, using like the Deposit Photos, every year they do like a $49 deal, and you get 100 images that you can use. What I've been doing lately is, as I'm leading into a book release, I'll pick teaser chapters or portions of chapters, and I will make the blog post out of it, and I will use one of those images, and each teaser will be linked to another teaser. So I do 4 to 5 teasers per book, and I put those up on my blog, and I can share those around social media to gain a little of that momentum and build that excitement. So you've got, you know, if you do one a week, you've got 4 weeks of buildup right there if you do 4 different posts. And then you share it with all your media outlets. And if people tweet it and retweet it, you get a little bit more exposure. And it's just little things that you can do. They don't cost any extra money to build up that excitement and give people a taste of what you're going to do. And then if you do your cover reveal after that, I mean, you can schedule in, you know, a couple months long of teasers if you want to build up to that release.
Yeah, that's great. I made the mistake of doing maybe like a 10-day countdown, which was good and fun, and it had unique pictures along with it, but 10 days is obviously not enough. It was just that I didn't, you know, quite have as much time as I had thought, but I don't think I was thinking ahead in this way of just putting out these pictures. You know, I don't usually have a publication date until I'm closer, but even so, in the way that you're saying, it's pretty easy to tease in that way. Alicia, as a reviewer, what kind of thing are you looking for in teasers?
I know. Oh, it's my
Your
camera.
picture.
Hi, everybody. Wow, this is weird. Okay, hi. Well, I've seen a lot of different types of things that authors do. I've seen people who have different covers up, who are like I think, Christy, you were talking about that you don't have a cover yet, a cover design. But I've seen people who have multiple cover designs, so then they'll get readers involved going, hey, vote for one of these covers and tell me what you think. Or, I mean, blogs are good too. And like, I've seen people take pictures of their writing samples and, yeah, I've seen a bunch of different things, but for me personally, a lot of things will grip me. A lot of things will grip my attention. So if someone's like, oh, I wrote 500 words today, let's see how many more I can write tomorrow. Just little things like that, I think really catches readers' attention.
Now, Alicia, I'm so sorry. I couldn't hear Mickey very well when he was introducing you. What is it exactly that you do? You're a reviewer. Do you work for a publication, or do you review on a blog, or what do you do?
I review on a blog. All of this is just strictly me. I started it almost 4 years ago, and just something that I love to do on the side. I love reading. I've loved reading since I was, I couldn't even tell you how old. And I thought, hey, why not write reviews? And I started writing book reviews, found it fun. And then I started contacting authors, started interviewing authors, got more of an inside look into these books. And it's just been something I've done ever since. It's just something fun, and it gets me out of my comfort zone for books, because I've always been the fantasy sci-fi sort of person. But ever since starting these reviews, I've done, oh gosh, I've read romance, I've read Western, I've read memoirs, nonfiction, horror, intense, suspense, thriller, all over the map. And it's really cool to kind of broaden your horizons and really look at other genres too.
So how does an author connect with you? And do you charge for your review service?
All of my reviews are free, since it's just me. And I've had people contact me through other people. I've had people contact me through social media. I've had a few Facebook. My personal Gmail's on my actual blog. So some people have emailed me, but usually a little bit of word of mouth. I'm not like huge yet, but I've got a little bit of a following, and it's getting larger little by little every year.
Well,
You'll be getting an email from me and Jason now.
And that's the thing. I'm actually looking for reviewers for my release coming out in a few months. And what I'm finding is that a lot of the independent bloggers are so weighed down with books that they can't take anything new for sometimes months and months at a time. So that's good to know. Are you still accepting books?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Well, I'll have to connect with you then.
All right, sounds good.
You're gonna get an overwhelming amount of emails now.
Yeah, right.
I read all the time. I'm good.
That's good. Yeah, awesome. Well, actually, I have a question for both of you guys.
She is the best.
Yeah, she is.
Just know that. She is the best.
Reviews.
Thank you.
Awesome.
No problem.
Actually, Joe has a question, so I'll ask his first. He's asking, does your marketing approach change per season? That's an interesting one. All those teasers we're talking about and everything, should it change per season?
Yeah. One thing that I do that's different is book clubs usually run kind of the school calendar year, September to June. So I do more promo to book clubs during that time of year. And in the summer, it's more like my publisher always does kind of seasonal sales. So I kind of look at their calendar and just plan my sales, like plan my marketing around those usually.
That's good. I know, Jenna, you said you usually publish in the fall. Is there, I think you said fall. So is there... I don't know if Jenna can hear us.
Yeah. My promotions are just based around my schedule. Being a teacher is sometimes really rough. Mickey and I learned, not this year, but the year before, that I don't promote in June. I'm cranky, I'm tired, and I'm so busy.
She is.
But on the other hand, I have the whole summer off. And I have a 2-year-old daughter, but I have a babysitter and things like that and family. So like my whole summer is open. And when you guys were talking earlier about promotions and releasing for summer is when I write. I have 2 months to just sit and write, but also to promote, to balance it out and edit it's just not my favorite thing. So I really work around my schedule, and it kind of actually works okay because I have a lot of free time, Easter and Christmas and things like that.
Sorry, I didn't turn my mic off and I was smacking mosquitoes.
I noticed. That means you're up next, Jason.
What was the question?
The question is, does your marketing approach change per the season?
Oh man, Katie, you don't happen to remember the very first time I was on Spilling Ink, do you, Katie? It was like the second episode, and you asked me what my marketing plan was. And
you have no marketing plan.
My answer was that I have no marketing plan. Well, now my marketing plan is slightly different. My marketing plan now is to leave it to my publisher to deal with, because I'm a terrible marketer. But one thing that I've learned over the last couple of years is that every day I have to be engaging with people online. And I'm terrible at doing it with Twitter, but every day I try to write something engaging on Facebook. And it's not so much to market, but more to sell myself to people, to help people get to know me, so that when I finally do drop the, hey, my book is coming out tomorrow, will you read it? I feel like people are a little bit more encouraged to take a chance that way. And so my marketing plan has really been just to get to know people and to share more about myself. I've been doing a newsletter once a month, and it's something I put off for a long time, and I grew it very, very quickly. So every month I give a nice long personal update about myself. I try to feature another author on there, and then just have a bunch of giveaways and free junk for people, because people love free stuff. So that's been my marketing plan, and I just do it that way all the time now. You know, I'm constantly engaging, because otherwise people are going to forget about me. And even on those days when I really don't want to interact with people because I feel like crap, or I'm tired, or I just don't want to do it, I always try to post something, even if it's just one of those silly Facebook memories. Because for an introvert like me, it's difficult to always be out there and to be on. So I've got to really train myself to do that. But as far as a specific marketing plan, I don't have one. I've got a book release in September, October, November. And pretty soon here, I'll start posting a little teaser daily every week and try to build up to a little bit. But I'm not much for the hard selling. I don't think people like it. I know that it works for some authors, but for me, it never has. I don't have a big enough name to say, here's my new book, go buy it. I'd rather gently walk people to Amazon to maybe pick it up. But yeah, so like I said, my marketing plan is still pretty lackadaisical, but I'm trying to just connect with people as much as I can. And these damn mosquitoes are everywhere. Holy crap. You guys don't have mosquitoes, do you? We have mosquitoes in Michigan. They suck.
We have mosquitoes, but I'm indoors, so I'm okay.
Well, where are you? Aren't you in Canada, Christy?
New Jersey.
Oh, I thought you were in Canada too.
No.
All right.
I get the mosquito bit. I used to live in Indiana, moved out here to California, but mosquitoes are awful.
Yeah. Yeah. If there is one species I could wipe off the planet, one thing I could eliminate, it would be mosquitoes. They would just be gone.
I tell people that vampires exist. They're really tiny, and they're called mosquitoes.
Yep.
True. I love that.
The silent killer, mosquitoes.
Well, they really are, and people don't know just how
they're dangerous.
The damage mosquitoes do really is. I mean, 800,000 people a year are dying from malaria and various types of encephalitis because of mosquitoes, and that's not even including West Nile disease and Zika and all these new things that are popping up. But it's anyhow, sorry about that.
It's good.
That's fine. Well, since you were talking actually about, you said you were publishing, is it 3 months in a row that you're publishing?
Yeah, and my publisher's philosophy is that series sell books. And I agree with it, and I don't agree with it in some aspects, because I actually love reading a good standalone book as well. But yeah, so these are all books that right now are being re-edited and reformatted so that they can all be released in this you know, shotgun style in the fall. And then next year we'll probably do the same thing with 2 to 3 more. But yeah, so it's pretty intense because while I have an editor, I'm trying to make her work easier since I know how she's going to edit. I go through the manuscript and edit, and then I send it to her so that we don't have this huge lag in time where she's trying to correct all my mistakes. But yeah, it's intense editing 3 books over the summer and trying to get them ready for publish.
Are they doing the release that close together to play off of the Amazon algorithms?
Yes. Yep. That's exactly why they're doing it. And they want it so that when readers pick up that first book, in theory, they're going to have finished reading that within a month. That way they can immediately go on to the next. And the next one will just build on those algorithms and generate more and more interest. And at least that's the hope. You know, if we have good releases, then that's what'll happen. And I'll be happy with it. So
that's actually something I was going to ask anyway. I wanted to know if you guys thought it was a good idea to write multiple summer fiction books, in particular, something you want to publish in the summer, and, you know, whether it's a series or not, and publish them all at once or even close together during the summer. Or did you think that it would be a better idea to publish 1 book per summer season, like something for readers to look forward to each season? I'm not sure that they would remember from season to season. But, you know, there are people who write, like we had a few authors on here that write themes. All of their books are themes, and they'll go for Easter and Christmas and Thanksgiving and even Halloween and things like that. And people will remember them because they write that way. So I was wondering, and really this could extend to any season. As Katie was mentioning, you know, with the algorithm, maybe it's a really good idea to publish in a row like that. But what do you guys think?
Well, my opinion is that once you're a big name, you can set whatever kind of publishing schedule you want. If you want to release 1 book every year, you're going to be just fine doing that, and your readers will come back for you. But, you know, when you're little guys like us, I really think that you need to kind of grind through it and get as much writing done as you can and release them often, because in this marketplace, I mean, in this very, very crowded marketplace, once you're out of sight, you're out of mind. And unless your readers have that personal connection with you, and you can't always get that, they're going to forget about you, and they're going to be on to whatever pops up next on their email from Amazon. So I really think you've got to have your work out there in front of them as soon as you can do it. But that's just my opinion.
No, I have to agree with you on that. That's kind of why I did my Agents of Asset series back to back, is I wanted it to still be fresh enough in readers' minds that when book 2 came out, they were ready to snatch it up. And there's only about a 6-week gap between the 2 books.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And that's something I wish I could do. I am too impatient to wait. I should just write a book and then write the next book and hold them. And I know that there are there's a particular science fiction author, I forget who it was, but he wrote like a 23-book series and held it all back until he could release them month after month, which is pretty amazing. I wouldn't even have that kind of patience. I just couldn't wait. I'd be so excited, you know?
Yeah, that's extreme. How long did it take him to write it? Do you know?
It was years. It was years. Definitely.
I couldn't do it.
I couldn't either.
I mean, I go like 2 or 3 months after something's done, and I'm like, if this is not out there, I can't hold back in the teasers anymore. I want to tell people what's going on.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I was just reading well, Katie knows this. I'm a huge Victoria Schwab fangirl. She is phenomenal. She wrote Vicious. She wrote the Darker Shade of Magic trilogy and several other fantasy books. If you haven't checked her out, she's awesome. And she was just posted, I think it was a tweet earlier today, that she's stuck in this weird place where she's getting ready for a book release in 2 months, but she's trying to still promote books that were released 3 years ago and write a book that's not due to be published in 2020. And I thought that's a really interesting problem to have, and it's a problem that I think that only writers have, that we might have this big catalog of books that you still want to keep creating interest in while you're writing new books that might be published years in the future and waiting for something to be released. So it's bizarre, and I'm doing that right now. I'm trying to promote Pathocyst and Ecocide right now, but I'm also trying to write a book that won't be published till next year or the year after, several books actually, and get ready for these 3 releases coming up this fall. It's, I don't know, it's like my head is freaking spinning.
But you said a minute ago that your publisher believes in series, that series sell. And that would make things easier for the promotion and the back promotion, right? The new one's coming. Oh, you haven't read this series yet. You can still be promoting the first one. Like, I have a YA fantasy series, and I'm always promoting the first one, even though it's the 3rd one that's going to be released in the next few months. I'm always promoting the first one so that they can read that one and get interested and get caught up. So when the 3rd one comes out, no one wants to really buy the 3rd book in a series unless they've read the other ones. So I'm constantly promoting. It's called Imagine, and that's the one I'm constantly promoting, even though it came out 3 years ago.
And I think that's a good idea. I think that's a good way to do it, because it's, in a way, that's your kind of your reader magnet. You know, you've got to get them hooked with that first book in the series. Otherwise, there's no reason for them to continue. So I think that's a good way to go about it, to keep promoting that, but also kind of throw in some teasers for that new one that's coming up, because you do want them to go and buy that. But yeah, so when you're putting together your books and formatting your books, are you including links in your books to go to the next one? So I might not have explained that well. When your 3rd book comes out, will you have links in your 1st and 2nd book that will link to the other books in the series?
I wish. So the thing is, though, is that I'm with small presses, so I'm often at the mercy of what they decide. Mickey and I have been really struggling lately because a release has been pushed back. You know, when I was doing teasers for my readers, like it was supposed to come out in the spring, and it hasn't. So it puts you in a situation. Luckily with Amazon, I know we fight with Amazon a lot. It does connect and hook up like that, but having links and things like that would be a lot better. But we do have in the front, you know, like other books in this series, and so it lists it like that.
Okay, and that's one thing that my publisher does.
Immediate standpoint. Go
ahead, Becky. I think I was frozen. Did you freeze, Mickey? There you go. I think you're back.
Yeah, I was just saying that sorry, I did freeze for a second. From a media standpoint, even with Jenna's series, first book, even though it's older, because they're not going to look at the other 2 until they look at that one. And so we're going to lose opportunities with the other 2 books as well.
Yeah, that's a really important point. I also wanted to ask Alicia, since you're a reviewer, if somebody is coming out with book after book after book, like let's say one a month or something, and you review the first one and they really want you to review more, is that like, does that create a problem for you? Do you have to sort of come up with a way that you can fit them in, or do you have to ask them to wait?
Well, everyone's actually pretty good. The authors that I have worked with so far, they've been really good with time. Like I always offer the chance to be like, oh, do you need this right now? Or can you wait just a little bit? Because I have a couple other books to read. And if they need it right away, then they will let me know. But most of the time they're like, oh, just take your time. And then I'll try to set up something so I know, like, okay, I can read roughly about this many pages an hour. I have this much time after work and on the weekends. So then I try to just average that out and then try to write the reviews. And I know personally, I sometimes struggle with the reviews too, because I want to make the author look good. I want to make their book look great. And I want to have people interested wanting to read it. And then sometimes it can be a little stressful. I think I put more stress on myself than anything else, but I always want to make the authors look good. And I know I've read so many reviews that are just one sentence going, oh, I hated the book. Oh, I liked the book. And it's like, why? Why did you like it? Why did you not like it? And for me personally, I like to get in depth with those reviews and really put the author and his or her book in a really good light.
Yeah, I think that's super important. And I can tell you that when I look at booktubers in particular who just give a synopsis and not an actual review, it's sort of like, I can read the back of the book myself. I don't need you to tell me. I can read it. But it's very frustrating, you know, when exactly what you said, when that happens and somebody either puts just a couple of lines you know, or they just put a summary. So it's really good to know that you go a lot more in depth with that. I think that's super important. For our wrap-up question, I wanted to ask you guys if you think it's too late to put a beach read out this summer. And if you do think that it is, how far in advance do you think? Because it's July 12th. We're still mid-July. So we have the rest of July and we have August. Of course, it doesn't give much time for build-up, but still, you know, it's the beach season. So if you do think that it's too late, would you say, like, how far in advance do you think it should be out there so people are like in that beach reading, you know, mode and they know it's coming or they're excited, or what would you guys say? And since Joy is unfrozen at this moment, would you go first, Joy?
Sure.
Immediate freeze after. All right. We'll come back to Joy in a minute then. How about Katie?
The school of thought for releasing books is you want to give at least at minimum 30 days, but usually about 3 months lead up time to get the marketing set up. So I would say now would probably be too late. Also considering the fact that a lot of school systems as of last year moved up their dates. So we no longer have Labor Day as marking the end of summer for most of us. It's now the first week of August.
I see.
Uh-oh, she was there for a second. So I think this summer is pretty much done. If your book isn't out already, I would save it for later.
I agree with Katie. I'd say if you haven't, I mean, well, let's say this. If you've been doing your build-up marketing, then go for it, release it. But really, you needed to have a good, successful book release. In my opinion, you should have been starting in May or so to get ready. So I would say if you're thinking of releasing something and you haven't done your build up to it yet, just wait. Just hang on to it. Do a little bit of marketing, engage with your fans, engage with potential readers, post some teasers, and then after another month or two, put it out there. But don't get impatient. That's one of the biggest problems we have as indie authors or as small press published authors, is that we get impatient. We have the product in front of it and we're like, bam, I want to give that to my readers. And I know because I've done it. And the result is not good. Just be patient, put in the time, put in the face time with everyone, and you'll be rewarded in the long run.
The engaging with readers, though, that is super important. And I've had a lot of people ask me too, well, I don't have a budget for marketing. How can I get word of mouth out? And really that engaging with readers is part of the equation. Sometimes I'll ask, you know, stupid questions on my Facebook page. You know, what do you envision this character looks like? Who should I kill off in the next book? It doesn't have to be really deep questions. It can just be something fun that gets people involved in that book.
You know, you used to post that would you rather questions. I hated those questions. I hated them so much because it was like, would you rather eat a hive of Africanized bees or have to watch Twilight 10 times? It was like there wasn't a good answer. And I was like, Katie, there's never a good answer to these. I hated them so much.
But they got so much engagement.
Those get the most engagement. I don't ask about bees and Twilight, but who's your favorite villain, or who would win in a wizard duel, Harry or Gandalf, right? Those really do get engagement. And then it keeps you alive on their Facebook feed with all those algorithms. And so those really do work. And they're fun.
My favorite question was, I believe it was, what villain would you not trust to babysit your children? It was just like an off-the-wall type of twisted question, and it got so much engagement.
That's so great.
I just have to say, I've killed like 20 mosquitoes just right here, right now.
Maybe you should ask that on your page. If you were watching The Writer's Edge last night, how many mosquitoes did I kill? And I will give you a paperback if you get the right answer.
Or come kill the mosquitoes for me and you could have the paperback. I don't care.
I'm always afraid, Katie, that if I say something about like, who do you want to see killed off, or how would you want this to work, that, you know, if I don't do it, there will be some kind of major disappointment. Oh, you didn't listen to us, you know, something like that. And I'm always a little bit nervous about that. Is that not really how it works?
No, I've never had anybody, tell me that they want somebody killed off. Usually the answer is, oh, don't kill off so and so. And that feedback is great because then I know how much
Katie?
the readers
You've
like
never,
them.
You've never had someone tell you that they'd like to kill someone off in one of your series? Really? Not one of your beta readers? One of your trusted beta readers? No? Oh, I see. You don't even read the notes I give you.
You know what? I'm putting you in my next novel and killing you. I hope you know that.
I have a shirt that says that.
He'd probably like it too.
I'll buy a copy of that, Katie. No problem.
No, but seriously, when you engage with the readers and they say, oh, don't kill off so-and-so, you know how much they love them, and you can, kind of configure your story so that that one doesn't end up dying.
Or they'll read it to find out if they do.
Yep.
Or you could end up in a situation like in Misery where somebody kidnaps you because you didn't do some certain thing with the character and breaks your legs and cuts your feet off.
Isn't that a meme somewhere? If your fans aren't kidnapping you and hobbling your kneecaps, you're not doing it right.
I need those kind of fans.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for being here. That wraps up our summer and beach episode. We had some really great discussion, and even just in general,
Totally.
I mean, I learned actually a number of things here, and I'm going to steal all the ideas I heard. So thank you guys so much. So let's go down the line, and if you could just tell us quickly where we can find you, that would be great. Let's start with Joy. She's moving.
I know. Probably don't look for me in Dinosaur Provincial Park because I'm frozen there. You can find me at my any Twitter, Instagram, anything like that, or my website, Joy Nordstrom, like the store, but no D.ca. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for being here, especially on your vacation. She's in a beachy place, so it's awesome, or a warm place anyway.
No beach.
How about you next, Katie?
Okay. So thank you guys so much for having me here today, and Jason as well. You can find us at Spilling Ink Show on YouTube, and you can find me online. I live on Facebook. Otherwise, katiesolitis.com.
Great. And for those of you still watching, stick in because we're going to tell you what the next episode is going to be, and you want to see that. So next, let's go with Jenna.
Okay, I have to beat Mickey because he had his umbrella, so I have my parasol. So that's how we have to end. It's much more feminine. You can find me at J Greene Writes on Twitter. My website, jennagreene.ca. I do most of my stuff on Facebook, so that's pretty easy to find. I think that's it. Instagram, yeah.
Where you can see the parasol, of course. I love the parasol. It's so pretty.
Well, I always write with a tiara, so it's got to be something fun.
Ah, that's great. How about you, Jason?
Well, I don't have any beachy things, but my product of the night is Cutter insect repellent, which isn't working so well at the moment. They're just ravenous. But I wear this to the beach anytime I go, just so that you know. You can find Katie and I at Spilling Ink Show on YouTube. You can find me at evolvedpublishing.com or find me on Facebook. Just come add me on Facebook, Jason LaVelle, LaVelle. Come find me. We'll chat. We'll hang out. I'm fun sometimes, like 2 nights of the week. But yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. And I see, Jenna, I love your tiara. I see it now. It's adorable.
I get a new one every time I publish a book. So I have 3.
That's great.
Cool.
And how about you, Alicia?
Well, my camera wasn't working, so I don't have anything beachy, but I just found this little smiling sunflower right here, so I guess that'll be like my little beachy thing today.
You have an anchor. You have an anchor anyway.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, there's an anchor back there. But yeah, you can find my reviews at rolloutreviews.com. I post all of my articles on there, reviews, author interview articles, everything's on there. I post the exact same articles also on medium.com. Just another way to promote them. You can find me on Facebook, just Alicia Smock, or on Twitter, Alicia C. Smock. And I think I'm more religious with using Twitter, but I am on Facebook occasionally. So yeah, you can just reach out.
Awesome. Thank you. And of course, The Writer's Edge is at thewritersedgeshow.com. We're on Facebook under The Writer's Edge Show, and you know where we are on YouTube. And Mickey, how about you? Where can we find you?
I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and my website at www.creative/edgeservices.com. And yeah, always looking for talented people to publicize, so to speak.
Yeah, perfect. And Amber Sage is saying that she loves your sunflower, Alicia.
Perfect.
Sunflowers. We'll show them again. Here we go. Just for you.
Perfect. And as for me, you can find me at ChristieStratos.com. I am also on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I have an author YouTube. I have this YouTube. I am on the Creative Edge Authors Showcase, which is on SoundCloud. And you can find me on a lot of other places too. And now for the part we've all been waiting for, what is this next episode that we're building up so much? And we're going to have it, as Mickey mentioned before, on July 26th at 9 p.m. And that is going to be with Eileen Cook. We're really excited about this one, aren't we, Mickey? This is going to be great. It's a one-on-one, and she is a multi-genre, I believe it's mostly YA author, but she writes just almost everything for YA. It's pretty amazing. She's writing relatable stuff. It is with the heart and with thrills. So you want to be there for that. We're going to talk about YA, strategy, all kinds of stuff. So again, thank you guys so much on the panel for joining us. Thank you all in the audience for joining us and for your questions. And we will see you next time.